1 Peter 3, 1 to 12 today, and don't forget, Peter is writing to Christians scattered throughout the Roman Empire. They're not the majority group. Things are far from ideal, far from perhaps the models of what we would want Christianity to be, and the family and so on. And he's writing to people who are really suffering for being followers of Jesus, often in isolated situations. And so he gives this advice. Let's hear God's word together today. Wives, in the same way, submit yourselves to your own husbands, so that if any of them do not believe the word, they may be won over without words by the behaviour of their wives, when they see the purity and reverence of your lives. Your beauty should not come from outward adornment, such as elaborate hairstyles and the wearing of gold jewellery or fine clothes. Rather, it should be that of your inner self, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth in God's sight. For this is the way the holy women of the past, who put their hope in God, used to adorn themselves. They submitted themselves to their own husbands, like Sarah, who obeyed Abraham and called him her Lord. You are her daughters if you do what is right and do not give way to fear. Husbands, in the same way, be considerate as you live with your wives, and treat them with respect as the weaker partner, and as heirs with you of the gracious gift of life, so that nothing will hinder your prayers. Finally, all of you be like-minded, be sympathetic, love one another, be compassionate and humble. Do not repay evil with evil or insult with insult. On the contrary, repay evil with blessing, because to this you were called, so that you may inherit a blessing. For whoever would love life and see good days must keep their tongue from evil and their lips from deceitful speech. They must turn from evil and do good. They must seek peace and pursue it. For the eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, and his ears are attentive to their prayer. But the face of the Lord is against those who do evil. As ever in the letters, there's quite a lot of detail in short compass, and we've only got a few minutes in the video, so let me just pick out a few things to focus on. For a number of Christian women, they would have been married to unbelieving husbands, partly because of arranged marriages. They wouldn't have a choice as to who they did marry, or for many people the gospel spread through the women often, and they came to faith first and then maybe husbands later. And so in a large number of situations the case would have been that Christian women were married to unbelieving husbands, and in a culture where the Christian model of marriage with gentle leadership from the husband was not the model, that could be a pretty miserable situation to be, that the husband might really resent their wife's faith, or be in a situation where he's trying to restrain it or restrict it. And for the wife then, that could be a very uncomfortable situation. And so Peter writes then to encourage these women not to fight it out with their husbands, not to battle for their own independence or for their own beliefs, but actually to model a godly life, to win their husbands over by actions, if not by words. And the focus then should be that inner self, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth in God's sight. Christian wife married to an unbelieving husband, you might not feel able to serve in church because of your situation. You might not be able to do much that you feel is worthwhile because you're restricted from being with other Christians, let alone serving. And Peter says, yes, but God takes great value and loves and feels his great worth, this gentle and quiet spirit, that unfading beauty, that inner character, which you can develop and nurture regardless of your external circumstances. And so, Christian wife, develop that for yourself. Keep walking with the Lord, trusting in him, asking for his spirit to produce that fruit in you, despite the frustrations and difficulties you may feel around you. And God feels that that's of great worth, that's of real value. And in his providence, it may well be that it's that leads your husband to faith. And so there's one piece of advice that Peter gives. And then to the husbands then, in the same way, be considerate as you live with your wives, and treat them with respect as the weaker partner and as heirs with you of the gracious gift of life, so that nothing will hinder your prayers. Husbands mustn't crush their wives, mustn't dominate them. They're to live with them and treat them with respect as the weaker partner. And not to use their power for the wrong reasons. Male power is very much vilified today because it has been used so abysmally, and male domination and bullying and abuse has been so rife that any male power is seen as a negative thing. And yet Peter says, no, your physical greater strength, your often social greater power is to be used for the benefit of those who are weaker around you, and you're to respect your wife in this, and recognise the value of her partnership with you as an heir of Christ, and that actually a right marriage relationship will be fuel for answer to prayer, and a marriage relationship where there's real battle going on. Prayers are going to be hindered by that, and so again, there's challenge to Christian husbands here, in non-ideal situations perhaps, and calling them to be careful in the way they live with their wives. And then, just in case you're not married, or you're feeling that the advice is too specific to you, Peter says, finally, all of you be like-minded, be sympathetic, love one another, be compassionate and humble. He goes on to say, pursue peace. There's a whole attitude here which is to be fostered. Now, these attitudes apply whether you're in the workplace or in the family, whether you're just out and about in the community, whether you're married or divorced or a widow, whether you've got kids or not got kids. Doesn't matter. It's not specific to your circumstances. These are heart issues that are to be cherished and sought after, and we are to work at in our relationships. Primarily, the Christian faith is about relationship, following Jesus together. And so Peter emphasises these things that we need to work at. And here's the motivation: for the eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, and his ears are attentive to their prayer. That answer to prayer again comes in against those who do evil. So be encouraged by that, folks. Those who are doing evil to you, the face of the Lord is against them. They will have their comeuppance one day. We saw that yesterday in the example of Christ, who trusted himself to the just judge who will do justly. But in the meantime, let's be those who are living these righteous lives, gentle, compassionate, sympathetic, submissive, using power for the good of others, recognising that Jesus one day is coming to put these things right. It's going to be tough to do that. Life is going to be really difficult for God's people at times as a minority. It's going to be hard and sacrificial, but these are the things that we need to focus on, so that we're ready for when Jesus comes again, and that he can use us in that kingdom work. Let's be conscious of this then, that actually in times of great difficulty he holds on to us, he's for us as we pursue these things, as we hear the words of our song to conclude.